Good morning, good afternoon. It is Lindsay Lou, and I am here. We are going to be discussing religion and theology today. Anyone is welcome to join. I have to use my brain and discuss it. I know that it is comical to say, what are you doing in discussing theology and using your brain? Well, people who believe in religion and discuss religion and don't believe in religion or follow religion or have a religion, they do have brains and they do use them. But yeah. So you're probably all wondering, Lindsay Lou, where have you been? You've been gone for some time. And well, I've been away in the hospital, having a gay old time. Isn't it grand for this time in the day of the time is okay. So, what religions would we like to discuss? Well, I mostly major in the Abrahamic religions. Are you religious now, Lindsay Lou? Is the question that most YouTubers would like to know. I'm not religious per se. I'm confused, more like it. I believe in God, but I'm unsure about who the Savior is. So I'm just open to opinions on that, other walks of life. But there are many stepping stones to the end. How we get there doesn't really fucking matter. Just be a good person. Pay it forward. Be that rock causing ripples. The good ripples. Let's use our brains, everyone, and discuss religion, yeah! So hopefully one of you motherfuckers will join the room. And, we can have a jolly good time. For now, you just get to hear me ramble on. Ramble, ramble, ramble. That's how we do it. Ramble, ramble, ramble. That's how we do it. This might also turn into a really random discussion, as I'm going to be adding random people. Like lyrics and St. Tommy and Neo and Bunto and Pyong and Jerry and so this person that was really, really insane said to me, did you know Muslims want to kill all atheists? It is a misconception that Muslims want to kill all atheists. In Surah 9, it is talking about a particular group of pagans called the Munafiq that were in war times with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they broke a treaty with the Prophet. And so the Prophet then said, this is from God, as he said, do not become friends with those who are not Muslims at those particular times because they were not trustworthy. So yeah, it doesn't say, yo, Allahu Akbar, Jihad, kill all Muslims. It's called read the whole fucking surah, take the concept of time and where they are, and read up what words mean in Arabic. Dumb motherfuckers. Read the book with an open mind. Not like this, I'm gonna be atheist and read religious books and be like, grr, I hate religion. I'm gonna be all angry. Hello, John.
Hello, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about religion and how some people like to judge religion when they read holy books or books that are considered holy under certain religious organizations.
How else are you supposed to judge religion if not reading the holy text they follow?
Well, you shouldn't judge religion in general. You should open your heart to it and your mind. And that's where, therefore, it can expand and you can understand it better.
So what you're basically trying to tell me is it all depends on the interpretation you follow. Is that correct?
Well, that's how I learn the best way, is when I study something without judgment.
I guess I just really don't understand what you're talking about.
Well, you came in the middle of my little rant. The title is Let's Use Our Brains and Discuss Religion. I'm obviously not using my brain, I'm using my heart.
Yeah, well, you can interpret the Bible any way you want. As a matter of fact, most people do.
I wasn't talking about the Bible, I was talking about the Quran.
Oh, the Quran. I'm not too familiar with the Quran.
Oh, well, I was referring to Surah 9 when people were discussing in the place where I was at recently about killing all non-Muslims, where it doesn't actually say that in the Quran. It talks about killing and munafiq. The munafiq are a certain tribal pagans during the time of the Prophet Muhammad.
Would you consider yourself to be religious? What's your standpoint on that?
No, I'm not religious, but I believe in God.
Okay, and what God do you believe in?
Abraham's God.
Abraham's God, huh?
But I'm open to other faiths, as we all have different walks of life. And we all are going to die, and by the time we die, it's too fucking late. There is probably no afterlife. There's a high chance of that happening, of no afterlife. But no one really knows. By the time you find out that there is no afterlife or there is afterlife, it's too late. So best bet is just to be a good fucking person. You know, pay it forward, be good to yourself, be good to others, stuff like that.
Okay, the only problem I have with religion is that despite what they think, they follow a type of ideology. And once you determined that God, for example, wants you to do certain things, if you have that sort of mindset, that can be extremely dangerous. But then again, it all depends on how you interpret the scriptures you follow.
Yeah. I'm a bad monotheist because I defy God on a lot of things. Like, I disagree with God, especially on homosexuality. And stuff like that, and adultery, and pretty much the whole Ten Commandments. It's just stupid.
Okay, go on with your little rant. I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab myself a beer.
Okay. Um. Theology itself is interesting. I like theology. I don't know why, but we all know, Lindsay Lou, that you're wishy-washy on everything. That you have a pool on, like, my ex-friend said to me, "Oh, what are you today, Lindsay? Are you Muslim? Are you Jew? Are you Christian? Are you Wiccan?" It's like, can you not be searching? Can you not be searching? But I think I'm mostly established myself, if anything, as a a universal Unitarian. Just there's not an organization like that in my city. I don't like organized religion, though I do enjoy fellowship. But I found that within my program that I go to. Remember, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Sobriety, my friends. But sobriety is not for everyone, so do not be mistaken. Uh, um, I don't know what else to discuss. AJ James, welcome to the room.
Yes, welcome to the room. We are talking about theology and Muslims, apparently.
And religion. It's open. The room is open to suggestion. I'm just terribly ranting.
Is there anything you need to say about religion?
I love religion personally. As a matter of fact, I think it gives people hope and a reason to live. But that's all.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
You can have hope without being associated to any religion. Hope has no agenda.
But it gives them purpose to life.
False hope.
Well, that may be. Whether it's false hope or not, it's still hope. It's better to live in hold on one second, my son.
Purpose of life. Well, the purpose of life itself is hard to find to do. Hey.
Okay, like I was saying, it's better to live in ignorant bliss, if you know what I mean.
Hey, Lindsay, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Doing good. Did you finally make the big move?
The big move?
Yeah, you said you're going to move to a different city.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, Scaff is still waiting for you.
Oh, yeah. I'm waiting to get into that group.
Yeah, well, since I last spoke to you, my psychologist wants to test me for autism, so I have to go in and see a psychiatrist to get tested for that.
Oh. I was just in the hospital on the psych ward for 33 days. I got tested. I'm bipolar and borderline. Yay! Not really.
Yeah.
There's no shame in it. There's treatments and there's medicine.
Yeah,
you don't have to feel ashamed.
Yeah, but
I don't feel ashamed.
But see, her culture and my culture both definitely look down on people with mental illnesses, though, and they commonly discriminate against people of such diagnosis.
It's hard to live with a mental health disorder, but I've learned that I don't let my disorder control me, and I know that I can never get rid of it. I have to learn to walk hand in hand with it.
In my country, they try to undermine anything they can as far as the benefit system goes for people who are mentally handicapped. They basically just want them to just die. Like they don't want to help them at all.
Yeah, I feel sorry for you because you live in crappy America, and you have. I don't even want to hear about your politics problem.
Well, that's why I'm hoping Bernie Sanders still has a shot at this because he would revamp our system, and I think he would revamp it to resemble yours.
Yeah, I haven't really been following it because I don't care. But um, since I got out of the hospital, I've been back on Google. I've been hearing a lot about it, and it's all over Facebook. Like people are like upset and are really upset that Trump is still in running.
Donald
Look
Trump is
him
the
up.
man.
The things he's
Go ahead.
man. He's not evil or bad. He's just a bit ignorant.
I would disagree. I think that he is purposefully trying to incite violence, and that makes him a bigot on purpose. The guy has associated himself. Look at his Twitter post. Associated himself with the likes of Mussolini, with the likes of uh, people within the KKK movement. It's absolutely absurd.
Seems to me he's trying to get connections with people. Big plan he wants to do with these.
But like Lindsay said, though, she doesn't want to talk about that, so I'm gonna put a cap on that for right now. But Lindsay, somebody told me that you have a boyfriend now, and if you do, that's good.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I do. 3 months now we've been dating. It's funny because he comes from like a heavy Baptist family, but none of them are Baptists anymore. But his name is Gabriel, and I'm like, oh, Gabriel. I call him all the time, and he's like, I am not an Arab. Please don't call me Gabriel. I'm like, fine, Gabby it is. I like to bug him.
Oh, look, it's Jeff. Jeff decided to wake up and grace us with his presence.
No, Jeff always comes to my hangouts. Right, Jeff?
Jeff, your mic's not on. You gotta click the little button thing on your mic.
How about now? Sorry,
Yeah.
I was on another one. I forgot I muted. How's everybody?
Well, we're doing good. Every time I see Jeff, he reminds me more and more of that guy from The Hangover. You know, the guy with the glasses, the dark hair.
They got the tattoo on his face? The dentist?
Was
Yes.
that Ed Helms?
I think it's the goatee and the haircut.
It's actually not a goatee. It's just kind of gray hair, so it looks like one.
Oh, I see.
Jeff promised me 6 months ago that he would give me a tour of his office, and he still has not done
I did actually. I think you just keep asking for one.
Hey, it's my friend Fatima. What's up, homie G?
This is like a little birthday party for Lindsay because she's been gone so long.
Yeah,
It's like this is your life. All of
pretty
your-
much.
Your old hangout buddies are reuniting.
Reuniting, yeah.
Hey Jeff, can I trouble you too much and invite you to Benny's hangout tonight, later on tonight, in like 3 or 4 hours? Is that too much trouble?
It might be past my bedtime. I have to get up very early, but I will try to come.
Okay, we're gonna try to start it at about 8 o'clock Eastern time. So I don't know if that's too late.
Okay. That should be okay. Any particular topic or just
The whole political thing and what's going on with that, I guess that's going to be the topic.
yeah, they're at least one of them's like a really hardcore Marxist, if they're who I think they are.
Yeah, I'd definitely go into that right now with you, but I didn't want to hijack Lindsay's hangout. But tonight in Benny's, we're definitely going to touch on that, and I will definitely own you on what you just said. I find that very outlandish.
Own you.
You haven't seen anything
Owned.
yet. I mean, was I not being accurate? You agreed with me that they're kind of Marxists, aren't they? I wasn't using that pejoratively. Just a point of information.
Yeah, this is a common propaganda ploy used by your cronies from Fox News, Jeff. We'll talk about it later.
I have no ties to Fox News. Don't even watch it. But whatever. If we're off to a great start, obviously.
Yeah, so those of you that are watching, please catch the Jeff Keller and the Down Corner debate tonight in Benny's Hangout. Watch for the link.
What are we debating?
Well, we could start with what you just said. We could start with the sky
I
is.
think we agreed. I said, aren't they? There's a couple of Marxists in that group, and you said yes. So that's a pretty boring.
No, I never said yes. I never said yes. I don't know
I
where
think you did. Or was I hearing things?
No, hit rewind. I think you're hearing voices in your head that are sounding.
Oh, this is going to be tedious. I might have to wash my hair tonight.
Anyways, I don't really know what to discuss anymore. I knew this was going to turn into a big random discussion.
I will behave.
Go Power Rangers!
So you have a new a gentleman friend or lady friend?
Yeah, well, a boyfriend. I got a boyfriend.
Nice.
We've been dating for 3 months.
Excellent.
On the 20th, it'll be 4 months.
Very good. Does he live near you, or is this a long
He lives in a little suburb of Red Deer where the airport is, called Springbrook. But he works in Red Deer.
Nice.
Works at the casino.
I hope to meet him sometime. Maybe you'll have him on here.
Well, he's really shy and awkward. But I'll try to make him come on a Google Hangout.
It sounds like just like everybody else on Google.
Yeah.
I was just in a Google Hangout with a legislator from Germany, actually. He does a weekly hangout, and they had a live, and that was interesting. They have an actual hemp party in their legislature. They have a marijuana hemp party. Yes.
Nice.
Oh. Well, since I've been in the today, I recently went. I joined NA, and today I am 30 days clean.
Well,
and
congratulations.
Sober. Thank you. So I am no longer smoking the marijuana because my lungs cannot handle it anymore.
Oh, good reason.
I didn't even know that could happen.
I didn't even know marijuana was considered a narcotic. Why would you go to Narcotics Anonymous for marijuana?
Well, I think the methods of quitting are similar, but you're right. It's I don't
Some
think
people,
it is technically a narcotic, but
some people consider it a narcotic. It can be an addiction. I personally am addicted to it. I get cravings to it. My mind is addicted to the high that I get from it. My body went through withdrawal from it. it does give me serotonin when I get high from it. So we can have the big argument. Oh, it's not addictive. You don't get withdrawal from it. But I personally went through withdrawal from it. So yeah.
Studying marijuana, I heard we just don't know yet. It just recently became legal.
Right. I mean, I think people with I'm a staunch advocate for full legalization of any kind of drugs that adults want to use for any reason. But I think it is inhaling smoke, and that's probably not the best thing for you. People knew before the Surgeon General came out that smoking, they called it coffin nails back in the 50s. I'm told. I don't quite remember that far back, but it's for people that have respiratory problems. It's probably not the best thing for you.
Yeah, but for the like you said that you're okay with legalization because the first couple centuries, or almost the first couple centuries of our country, there was no regulation at all, and people still went to work, people still functioned, we still had a society and an economy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Most of the problems that are associated with drugs are actually prohibition problems. They're the same problems we had in the 20s with alcohol prohibition and any kind of prohibition prohibiting people from buying things that they want. They're going to get them one way or another, and if they don't get them legally, they're going to get them from criminals. And if the criminals can't go to court to protect their contracts or their arrangements, or the consumers can't insist on good product that won't hurt them or kill them, then you have all of these really bad problems. And you're right. Yeah, prior to the 30s, I guess was when the war on drugs began, and then it escalated under Nixon and Reagan. So it has been a real blight. And I don't like to see anybody die, but Nancy Reagan, she was the just say no lady. And oh, let me refresh. I've had problems with my connection. I'll refresh. Sorry.
I just want to say that though I'm not smoking anymore, I know people that do smoke, and I'm still friends with them. And I am for the legalization of marijuana because it is really good for medicinal. But personally, I had respiratory problems probably before I started smoking, and just smoking escalated the problem to be worse.
Yeah. Do I sound any better?
You sound much better, honestly.
Thank you. That happened in the last hangout I was in. I don't know what's up. I may have to get rid of this computer. I think that's part of the problem. It's getting kind of old.
Upgrade, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling.
Ding-a-ling. Yeah, my laptop is newer and works better usually, but sometimes I like to be in the studio.
Can I just say something really quick? I've
Sure.
only been in here for a couple of minutes, and I am already very impressed with all of you. You're not arguing, you're not yelling or interrupting, and I'm very, very used to that by now, but you guys are just so calm and laid back. I'm happy to meet you all.
Well, thank you. Sometimes we have our moments, but we try to keep it real. I appreciate your saying that, and it's great to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we all pretty much know each other. I don't know John Doe very well. I feel like I've met him before, though, but it's the first time I've seen him in this room. I think I've seen his avatar, though, before. I know my muse, whatever, however you say her name. I know her in real life. I know Jeff for a long time. He's my libertarian buddy.
Yep.
Chum and Down Corner or Juicy or whatever the fuck he goes by now. He's my friend in Nebraska. Are you still in Nebraska? Hey, do you still have your dog? Anyways, yeah, Fatima. Hold on a minute.
I'm still in Maryland.
Really, I never knew where you were at. That's nice to know.
Yeah, in the suburbs.
How far is DC from you?
It's about 40 miles. It takes about an hour. Well, takes about 40 minutes if there's no traffic, but it's usually an hour's drive.
Can't you take a train?
I'm sorry?
Don't they have a commuter train?
They have one that comes from a town near me, but it's like a dog leg. It takes forever to get where you're going, and I tried using it for a little while when I first moved up here, which was about 15 years ago, and it was such a major time suck and just not worth it. So
You know what I've noticed? A lot of people who come and hang out are from East America. I feel like I'm the only Westerner here.
I'm a Westerner. I'm from Alberta, Canada. Rocky Mountains, woo!
yeah,
And
I would say.
berries.
Well, the East Coast is definitely more densely populated, but I find most of the people I hang out with, it has more to do with what time of day you come on, because it lines up with different time zones. So if you're on earlier in the day, you'll see a lot of people from the UK when they come home from work if they work and all of that kind of stuff. So I found that it has a lot to do with when you're on as to
That
what
makes
the
sense. That makes
demographic
sense.
is. From where do you hail?
I'm from Washington, Washington State.
Cool. Yeah. So, yep, I'm from the other Washington.
You're from Washington, D.C.?
Yeah. Well, as I was telling down, I'm from the suburbs. Or they even call this the exurbs. I used to live closer in, but I'm about the same distance from Baltimore as Washington.
That must be intense. I heard crazy stories about Washington, D.C.
Well, what happens in Washington stays in Washington. I don't know. It's home to me. It doesn't seem as crazy as some places to me. It used to be when I was a kid. It seemed like a sleepy southern city, but it has become a world-class city in a lot of ways, and it's pretty. There's a lot of hubbub, but it's not like Manhattan. I mean, or someplace like that, or even San Francisco. It's not quite that big.
I never understood why Hitchens lived in D.C. That was always bizarre to me.
Well, he was kind of a political commentator as well as atheist. He's kind of a neoconservative, as I recall. But he wrote for who did he write for now? Which magazine was it?
The National Review or something?
I don't think he wrote for National Review, and that's a New York-based publication. I'm sure he contributed to National Review, but I forget who he actually wrote for. Was it maybe the New Republic?
Vanity Fair?
Maybe. Yeah, that sounds about right. And his brother, who was very religious, trying to think, he had a political job.
The Atlantic. So
Yeah.
was the Atlantic. So I was wrong on all accounts.
Yeah. I know it was one of those kind of magazines.
What is that sound? It's a dripping sound.
I think my pipes are leaking.
So have you been in Washington State all of your life?
Oh no, I'm from East America as well. I came from Michigan, Detroit. You can
Oh.
imagine why I left.
Yeah, I was born there, and I visit there a lot because I have family there, and I know all about why you probably left.
We left just in the nick of time, too. It's been in the news. Detroit, their fall of everything.
Well, that was a multi-decade fall, but yeah, it finally did crash with the bankruptcy a few years ago. That was kind of the death knell. But as bad as things are, there's some renewal. People are taking initiative and actually having. They can't get services from the government because they're bankrupt. They're actually doing a lot of private things, like having private bus services and things like that I'm reading about. And really nice stuff, like commuter buses that have Wi-Fi in them and pick you up at your door. And they have some actually some private firms that are doing security and actual real security where they're on site and protecting people. So there are some. Amidst all of the devastation, there are some good things going on in Detroit, albeit small scale. But yeah, if you've never been there, pardon?
I'll have to look it up. I'm interested.
Yeah, there's a lot of urban farming and really some friends of mine know more about it than I do. There was but if you look at like urban farming, and they have that eastern. What is it, Eastern Market? Or am I thinking of D.C.? But they have little pockets in Detroit that are doing pretty well, but it sure is a devastated place. I mean, it's hard to even, if you haven't actually seen it, it's really hard to even do justice to in pictures and word of mouth. But did you live in the city?
Yes. I barely remember it, though. I was very, very young.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember living there, and I didn't live in the city. I lived in Birmingham and in the suburbs. That's where I was born.
You have $500, you can buy a house there.
Oh, yeah, or $1 even. I remember that a few years back they were saying, one could buy a house in Dearborn, Michigan for cheaper than they could buy a Ford truck that's made in Dearborn, Michigan. So yeah, it was pretty bad.
I actually drive a Ford truck. Mine is a little dated now, but yeah, I still have my Ford truck. Still going strong. Shout out to Michigan and Dearborn.
Nice.
What about Lansing? Is Lansing doing all right?
Well, Lansing's the capital. I've never been to Lansing, so I don't know firsthand much about it. I think all of Michigan is kind of really, really suffering, although in one respect, they didn't have the housing bubble, so they didn't lose as much value as some people in some areas lost when the last crash occurred. But I think it's very challenging. I don't think Michigan in general has been that business friendly, and as such, it hasn't been that diverse. And so I think there are pockets where things are better, and Lansing probably does a little better being the capital. But places like Flint are still devastated as far as I know, and have been for even longer, for a couple decades.
Michael Moore has always been on the forefront of being vocal with Flint, and they should they should probably listen to him, because most of what he said has been pretty accurate about Flint.
Oh, you do have your dog. I saw his fluffy ears. He's so cute.
Is he a Weimaraner? I just see the ear, so I'm...
He's a mutt, that's for sure.
Oh.
He's so adorable.
Hi! He wants to be here too.
Yeah, but with the problem with Michigan, though, is they were so invested in the, like you pointed out, the auto industry, that all their eggs were in one basket. That was the biggest problem.
Yeah, and one thing that happened the one reason they had such a big bubble in the late 40s and the 50s was, uh, first of all, nobody bought cars from 42 to 46. The car makers were making munitions for the war, but also after the war ended, there was this huge pent-up demand for automobiles. Plus, the two would-be competitors, the serious competitors, that were Germany and Japan. They weren't around, so the U.S. had this real honeymoon period where they could, they could get away with a lot. They could pass off union demands to consumers and all of this, and it was a bubble economy, very very much so. That started to decline in the 50s very slowly, but Detroit was once known as the Paris of the Midwest. It was a true bubble town. I mean, and especially when that happened. My family was in the car business back then. My grandfather was a stylist, designed interiors of General Motors cars, and my dad had a dealership, so I kind of know a little bit about that, some of it firsthand. But yeah, it just declined, and it never was able to, because as you say, there was such a lack of diversity, and that really hasn't changed a whole lot. And because of the unions, whether you like unions or not, they've made it very unattractive for businesses to move there, other types of businesses. And it's just been a real tragedy. And
I disagree. I don't think the unions have decimated the auto industry. So.
Well, it was published a couple of years ago that the average the average American car has on it about a $1,200 cost that is nothing but pensions that were promised to union makers. So that's enough right there to put one at a competitive disadvantage. So I don't think you can dismiss it entirely. You can debate the degree to which it was a problem, but it was you had auto workers that are great, and they're important, but they were making six figures or the equivalent thereof in the 70s. So that's a little hard to compete with other non-union type enterprises. And Michigan was a closed shop, but that wasn't their only problem. They stagnated. They were complacent. They made the same cars year after year with only styling changes for the most part. So they did things like that too. They were very protected by the fact that they didn't really have any global competition at the time. And it was the unions, and it was the management, it was everybody, but the unions were a big part of it.
Some of what you're saying actually is some of what my dad used to say. He was a mechanic way back when, and he's very old, and he worked with cars all the time, and he would hear his boss talking about these things, and he repeated them to me, even though I was too young to understand. But you talking about it's ringing a bell.
Yeah. He sounds like a smart man.
Not entirely, but with his hands, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean these things were pretty well known. My dad worked for General Motors, and my mom always called it Generous Motors because he had these amazing benefits. As did my grandfather. 2 company cars. I don't think they ever paid for my grandmother had her own car, virtually free, or they got it so cheap that they could trade up every year. But she always had a brand new car. He had 3 or 4 cars in a year's time, and it was the life of Riley back then. And even he told me I always liked the old cars from the 50s, but he hated them because he said we weren't doing anything. They were the same car from 53 to 69. They didn't have any real serious innovations, and finally they got really worried about how big they were. And I remember hearing that there was a plan to downsize them before even the 73 energy crisis, but that sort of hastened things a lot, and the quality of the cars was terrible for the most part. It's much better now. I finally bought a foreign car. I bought a Hyundai 10 years ago, and it's still running strong. But every American car I ever owned, and I'm not saying I'm like everybody else. Some people had much better luck than I, but I had a lot of cars, and they would die around the 80. Or start costing me a ton of money around the 70.
I thought just the opposite. The only car that I ever owned that actually had the engine go out on me after 2 weeks of ownership was a Honda. Okay, I've bought a lot of cars in my time, and the only cars that ever messed up on me was a Honda and a Toyota as well. They both went out after a few weeks.
Oh yeah.
Well, I can understand a Toyota, but a Hyundai, really?
Not a Hyundai, a Honda.
Honda,
Oh,
he said.
Honda.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean there are outliers in every example, but yeah, my own experience. We had a dealership in the late 70s, early 80s, and I mean the cars that would come in, they were all American cars. We had all GM cars. The quality was horrendous. We didn't know if they were going to start when they got off the truck, and sometimes we'd get a car, we'd have to do a major engine job in it to get it to run. It was just really abysmal.
Who's talking in the background?
Das ist Rufus.
Oh, that reminds me, talking about cars, in Seattle, near where I live, there is a car museum with all these different cars from the 80s, the 90s, the 60s, far, far back. I think they had a car from the 30s, too, or is that way too far? I forget.
No, there were cars in the 30s, I would imagine.
Yes, I believe they had one from the 30s. I've only been there once, so they might have changed them around a bit. If you ever visit Washington State, check out the Car Museum in Seattle.
Jeff, can we get serious here, though? You said that American cars were garbage. Can we get serious on that? Those were the ones made in the 80s. Like, can we delineate there on what was going on? Because the ones in the 80s were total trash.
I didn't use the word garbage, but the quality was pretty awful, I think, by international standards. But I mean, would you agree with me that that was really isolated to the 80s? Because the ones from the 70s really were, except for the Pinto, you know what I mean? They really were great cars. Well, the Vega was horrible. The Vega had a terrible paint. It had first an aluminum block that wasn't bored out right. The fit. If you look at the fit and finish of them, and after a few years, what they were like on the used car lot when the doors didn't fit, and you'd slam the door, and you'd hear the window rattling around inside. So they really weren't. I am more familiar with the 80s, and I think it did get worse. So I would say mid-70s to mid-80s were probably the low point, but they didn't get there all of a sudden, so I wouldn't say that the 70s or the 60s were great times either.
Yeah, I'm talking about your primary models of the 70s, your Buicks, your Cadillacs. I mean, those were some great cars, okay? We're not talking
about... They were nice looking.
They also were nice running, though. The 455... The 455 and the 500 sized engines, those things are bulletproof. You cannot destroy them. You cannot kill them. The only thing they'll kill though is your wallet, but you cannot mess those up. I mean, they're indestructible as long as you have oil and gas in them.
Yeah, I'll accept that. I don't know if they have the longevity as some of the imports did, comparably speaking, but yeah, they had some really good engines, and yeah, the 455 was great. It was a better engine than the Cadillac engine for a while. I believe that was the Oldsmobile engine, as I recall. Yeah. That was a. I remember this. My friend had a 73 98, and we had a 73 Cadillac. Both big boats, and his car ran much nicer than ours. But that's anecdotal, obviously, of course. But I think the Olds engine in a number of years. Olds kept up with that 307 during the late 80s when Cadillac was trying to do the 864. I'm sorry, that was the early 80s. The 864 concept, and then they had a really anemic HT 4100. And they had the Cimarron. Oh my God, what a
Yep.
piece of crap
That
that
was
was.
cool. That was definitely.
So it
Well,
was pretty bad. But I like those cars. I mean, I love the 79 Eldorado. That thing ran like a scared rabbit. I don't think it lasted that long. That was the problem. They rode like a charm, but they just it was the longevity that was an issue.
Yeah, I've got one of these cars from the '70s, and it's still running fine, and it's never had the shocks replaced or any of that stuff. And,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, let me finish talk. Or I wanted to say here real quick, like before I forget, the thing I wanted to point out is that GM seems to be good with the big engines. They've never been good with making small engines.
Yeah, they had a really hard time transitioning when the markets changed. They were making the same engine. That was my grandfather's beef with them. They were making the same engines, but they weren't agile. They weren't like they couldn't really tool up and make more fuel efficient cars when they became in demand. And when they did, it was a big disaster because they never put a good engine in a car that they introduced. The Vega was an example. The Cimarron had an even worse engine in it the first year than it had the rest of the time. The engine actually wasn't that bad. It was still a glorified Cavalier, but it was at least a passable engine after the first year. But yeah, they just they were like a one-trick pony, and it took them a long time to transition.
Sorry.
I
wasn't paying attention for like 3 seconds and realized no one was talking.
You see what happens when you slip away like that? No.
I got a message from someone. I apologize.
I'm only kidding.
Talking about cars, it reminded me not only of the car museum, but I believe one of my old teachers was able to submit one of his cars to there because he owned a really old car from his grandparents. I forget his name, and he was very old, but he fixed it up himself. And I remember him showing us the car. It was very tattered and very beat up, and he was fixing it to no end. He was working very hard on this car. And I think he was able to do it, and it's submitted to the car museum.
Are you talking about the LeMay Museum in Tacoma, or?
I don't remember.
That's what
I haven't been there in so long.
Is Tacoma near you, or?
Yes.
That might be it, because it's called there's America's Car Museum. Yeah, it looks nice. I want to get out to the Pacific Northwest. I've just never been out there.
Oh, please do. It is very nice. We are very friendly. Just be wary of some of the people who tweak drugs.
Oh,
because we do have those. But genuinely, we are very welcoming. We don't always get many visitors.
Are you near the Sound? Are you like in the populous area, or are you sort of inland?
I'm near South Sound.
Okay. Well, this is what I pulled up here when I Googled Seattle Car Museum. Here, let me.
I believe that's it. I think.
That's a nice. That's like a '65 Buick right there. Maybe a '66.
Who knows how different it is now? I've only been there once as a kid, and they've had some really impressive cars. Very, very dated.
Yeah, I believe that's a '58 Pontiac. It's either a Pontiac or I think it's a Pontiac. That's the one we just saw. That's a '59 or '60. They looked identical. Corvette. Those were beautiful. So nice. So they got exhibits here. It seems to be all American cars too, which I'm kind of into. I just know them better. Nice. Yeah. Oh yeah, they do have some from the 30s. Those are from the 20s actually, these.
I knew it. I knew it. I remember
Well,
very briefly.
sorry, I have to interrupt. I have to go, you guys. I have to go make supper, and then I'm off to a meeting, so I'll talk to you all later.
All right, take care, Lindsay.
Bye.
Are you leaving this open?
I can leave it open if you want.
Yeah, I don't want to moderate or anything. I'm probably going to have to go pretty soon anyway, but it was great talking to
Yeah,
everyone.
me too.
Okay, well, I'm going to take it off air then, and yeah.
Okay.
So thank you all for participating on the on-air hangout, and you can talk amongst yourself off air. Have a jolly good evening, and thanks for the round of
You too.
discussion. You all have a good night.
You too.